Hi, welcome back to Videos from the Ville. This is Professor Charles Greenewalt, and this is Government 241, Public Administration and Public Service. Today we want to take a look at the topic of administrative responsibility. Administrative responsibility is a topic that perhaps is a bit ignored, not as discussed as it has been in the past. Let's take a look at what administrative responsibility is. What are the elements of administrative responsibility? Administrative responsibility include 6 elements. What are they? The 6 elements of administrative responsibility are 1, responsiveness. That if in fact you are in charge of a public agency or entity, that you need to be responsive to the public and responsive to their needs. So responsiveness would be one element. The second element would be flexibility, that you're willing to, and your agency is willing to work with the people, specifically in the face of hardships. So flexibility. Thirdly is competence. Competence, that you know what you're doing and you're able to do the job that you were hired for. Competence. Number 4, the 4th element of administrative responsibility is due process, that everyone has the right for due process. 5thly is the element of accountability, that you must be held accountable for your actions and for your mistakes, and just like you get credit for your successes, you must take credit for your defeats as well. And the 6th and final element of administrative responsibility is honesty. Government works best when we are engaging in honest dialogue, and dishonesty and lying is put aside. So therefore, if the elements of administrative responsibility are those 6 facets: responsiveness, flexibility, competence, due process, accountability, and honesty, what would be the things that would work against administrative responsibility? The elements that would be examples of disregarding administrative responsibility would be dishonesty, number 1. Number 2, unethical behavior. Number 3, the disregard of the law. Number 4, favoritism. Favoritism when trying to define legislative intent. Number 5, the unfair treatment of employees. Number 6, gross inefficiency. Number 7, covering up mistakes. And number 8, the failure to show initiative. These are all examples of the failure to achieve administrative responsibility. Now, what are some of the pitfalls on the way to achieve administrative responsibility? What are some of the problems that we'll run into along the way? Some of our pitfalls on the way to administrative responsibility include collusion, trying to collude with different entities or different people in an illegal way. Collusion. Coercion, when you know you're wrong or your agency's wrong and you're trying to coerce someone into accepting that. Number 3, distortion, when you're trying to distort what your agency or what you actually did. And number 4, elitism, when you are not willing to work with everyone and you're only catering to the country club elite. These are all pitfalls on the way to administrative responsibility. Pitfalls on the way to administrative responsibility, again, are collusion, coercion, distortion, and elitism. Okay? We find that in this particular case, in this particular subject, I normally pass out a case study of Gunnar Fredrickson. This is based on a case study from 60 Minutes, from almost the beginning years of the TV series, and it's a compelling case of administrative responsibility because it's about Gunnar Fredrickson, and it's all about the case of whistleblowing. What is whistleblowing? Remember, whistleblowing is when you work, you work for the federal government, and let's say you work for the Department of Defense, and you see a problem. Maybe the problem is in the redesign of the B-1 bomber. And the people who are redesigning the B-1 bomber can't seem to fix it. And you find that the B-1 in later performances is developing many different operational problems. The wing is tearing again at a certain number of hours. It has reduced capabilities. It could endanger national security. So when you engage in whistleblowing, you have taken this problem, you've reported it to your superiors, and they've not been able to solve it. So you take it to your superior's superior. You take it one level above your superior, and if the problem still is not solved, and these two levels of individuals don't seem to indicate to you that there is a correction in sight, then whistleblowing would be going to the press, turning to the press and reporting this incident and seeing if the press can, through their reporting, can shame the government into doing the right thing. And in fact, that was a very real situation when I'm talking about the B-1 bomber and trying to improve it, and problems with the wings, which led to a lot of investigation within Congress. So what I do with Gunnar Fredrickson was an individual who worked for the U.S. Department of the Interior. He had been assigned to handle new healthcare organizations in the West, in Wyoming, Utah, in a multi-state area. And in fact, we find that when these new programs were rolled out for the Department of the Interior, that in fact they were not working well at all. And we find that Gunnar Fredrickson, after working with the Department of the Interior and none of the problems were corrected, he finally blew the whistle, and he went to the press, and he went to the Congress. And it shows what happens within this case study. This was a case where he ended up spending something like $750,000 of his own money, and this is back in the late 60s, early 70s. And that's an incredible amount of money. Here, when you involve yourself with whistleblowing, sometimes the government can use unlimited resources to force people into compliance with their wishes. Here, Gunnar was able to get some people to donate to his legal defense, but it was very difficult to do this. And when it was all over, he did prove his point. He was right, but as a reward, he was given a demotion and sent to another job, which was far less interesting, and assigned back to Washington, D.C., when he really wanted to be in the Rocky Mountain area. So when he was asked finally if he would do it again, he said absolutely not, he wouldn't. We have to make whistleblowing a situation when it doesn't need to be done very often, but when it is done, that it's effective and it produces better outcomes. Well, what are the solutions? Berkeley, who wrote quite a bit on this, Berkeley has solutions to the challenge of establishing administrative responsibility, and he calls it the 3 Ps. He believes that in order to have administrative responsibility, we need professionalism, participation, and publicity. Professionalism means that we have to have proper training in public administration and in ethics. We need participation, that all affected parties will be allowed to testify and participate in this investigation. And finally, publicity. When whistleblowing or investigation whistleblowing is going on, we need to make sure that all the facts are on the table and everyone gets to look at them. We need to ensure transparency of the whole process. So these are the Berkeley's solutions to achieving administrative responsibility for now and in the future. High levels of professionalism, that's why we're studying this subject and why we're here in this class. Participation by all parties, and publicity, and making sure that everything is transparent. So this wraps up administrative responsibility. Okay? If you have questions, give me a call, give me a ring, and text me. I'd be happy to try to answer them. Okay. Thank you.